Welcome learners to the course on satellite communication again. Today our objective is to calculate the solar eclipse and also the basic idea about the sun transit outage and the Doppler shift, etc. So this is a very short module and I will just briefly describe about the mathematical formulation to calculate the data for the solar eclipse, actually the number of days. So without just wasting time, I am going to the course again. And first I am starting to the sun transit outage. So what is that? You will get a figure where you will find the earth and the position of the sun, and for your help I am just drawing the three different positions of the sun shown in the yellow color. So if you just look out the sun's position, you will find that if the satellite and sun are totally covered within a particular say sort of cone, then the total satellite power can be drained by the sun, and that's why you can't get the output towards the earth. So half of the angle of the cone, that is normally called as the outage angle, and that's shown in the figure, and the total antenna beam width corresponding to the satellite, that is shown. So if the position of the sun becomes within the total or the twice of the outage angle, then actually the total satellite power will be drained by the sun, so you ultimately get almost no power towards the earth. I think the figure is very simple, so I can say that it is a phenomena where the geostationary satellite signals are interrupted, and that is caused by the interference from the solar radiation, and that's actually shown in the figure as far I am describing here. So it's a very simple figure which basically explains the sun transit outage. And what are the features? It occurs generally two times. One will be in the case of the February-March, another will be the case of the September-October region. And the effect basically lasts for 6 days around the equinox, and that is a maximum period for the 10 minutes. So just not very much, but that time basically it is a problem, because once the satellite the solar power is completely drained, and when the sun goes out of the area as shown in the previous figure, area means the twice of the angle, and then you have to again start the solar panel, so again they have to work, and there is a rapid fluctuation of the voltage, so the internal circuitry of the satellite that may be damaged, and that's one of the major concerns for the satellite outage. So I am giving a figure that is obtained from the NASA, so you can get this figure available in freely in the Google image portion, so which goes the total eclipse and the partial eclipse, the umbrella, the penumbra, everything about the moon. And look, when the moon is completely covered, that is the total eclipse, but when it is partially, when the sun rays goes partially outside of the moon and reach towards the earth, so that is the partial eclipse. That's a simple figure which basically helps you to understand how the total sort of eclipse may take place. So you by using this simple figure you can move onwards. Whereas I am going to the actual details of the solar eclipse. Now look, I am making different positions of the moon and the sunlight and earth. Now earth is between sun and moon. Look out the figure very clearly. If moon is completely covered by the cone which formed by the earth, then sunlight can never reach the moon, and that we call as a total lunar eclipse. Whereas if I go for the outside, this is also called the penumbral or the partial lunar eclipse. Partial means half is covered by the cone, half is outside. But if it is not covered by the cone, then I will call it a penumbral eclipse, and if the moon goes outside exactly, then I am calling it as an uneclipsed. So satellite is said to be in eclipse when the sunlight is prevented to reach it by the earth or the moon. So you can replace moon by satellite also. Now I am coming to the actual cases. Just replace moon by satellite, so you will get the total eclipse for solar, for total lunar total eclipse or partial eclipse for solar, the penumbral eclipse for solar, and the uneclipsed position. Naturally, for viewing our channels, we always want the satellite should be uneclipsed position, or if, but because of the rotations of the sun and moon, sometimes eclipse may take place. Obviously, it is unavoidable, so we have to consider that the damage done by the eclipses should be as minimum and possible, and that's why the mathematical calculation, the geostationary satellite satellite launching, position, and the role of the TTC subsystem, the antenna design, everything will take place. So I think I have already explained the TTC system, the transponder, the antenna, those parts, so you know what are the approximate factors which basically considers the determining these mathematical relationships, the look angles, the orbital parameters. I will launch a few videos a little bit later on once I am going for the recapitulation of the course, where then I will launch some videos on the orbital parameters and detail some calculations related with the matter, so you will get more detailed analysis for the matter. Next, I am going to the solar eclipse on the satellite. So the Earth's orbital plane that around the sun that coincides sometimes with the Earth equatorial plane, and that's inevitable. Sometimes you will find that orbital plane and the Earth equatorial plane basically matches. Then the geostationary orbit that will be eclipsed by the Earth. So that is called Earth eclipse. So you will get the concept of solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, Earth eclipse. So basically, which comes between whom? That's the actual point you have to consider, whether the geostationary satellite can be eclipsed by Earth because both the plane coincides and Earth comes in between, so basically it is eclipsed by the Earth. So that's the major factor, which portion, which celestial body comes between the sun and the Earth, basically that basically considers the determining factor related with this. So without much wasting time, I am going to the features of the solar eclipse, which are very important for our practical perspective. So for geostationary satellite, the solar eclipse due to the Earth occurred during the two periods. Naturally, one will be the 23 days before the equinox, another will be the in 23 days after the equinox. So actually, this is the total duration of the solar eclipse. I will come to the mathematical calculation a little bit later on. And during the eclipse, the satellite receives no power from its solar panels. So it has to operate its onboard supply batteries, which basically reduces the Saturday life. But you have to consider the major problem is the on-off. You can make a switch off, that's fine, but once you have to again make it on, there is a huge fluctuation of the potential, and that basically reduces the Saturday life. So satellite life basically reduces by the number of on and offs because of the eclipses occurs due to sun, due to lunar, or due to Earth, or so many constant factors. So your design criteria, I will come to the methods to avoid this eclipse. The design criteria should be such that the eclipse should be avoided. And the mathematical formulation, I am going a very little bit, that inclination angle of the Earth's equatorial plane, that is basically given by 23.5 sine 2 pi t by t. Capital T obviously the 365 days, you know the annual values. So this IET, that is the inclination angle, that is maximum in summer and winter, and that is minimum in the zero, where basically it's not zero, but it's very close to zero in the spring and autumn solstices. So if you remember the formula, that is the IET, and you will get the shadow angle of the Earth. Shadow angle means if you consider the shadow of the Earth is a cylinder, then it basically converges and gives the shape of a cone. So that shadow angle, that means half of the angle of the cone, that is given by the 180 degree minus 2 cone inverse RE by RE plus R0. Now what is RE and R0? RE is the Earth station radius and R0 is the satellite distance. So if you substitute the exact values, almost the values, you will get phi max is 17.4 degree. So that is the maximum shadow angle of the Earth becomes 17.4. So naturally, what will be the duration of the eclipse for 24 hours? It should be 17.4 divided by the annual day. Annual day is nothing but 360 degree. So you will get the total rotation multiplied by for a day's period, that is 24 hours, and you will get 1.16 hour. That's maximum 69 minutes. So the duration of the eclipse for a 24 hours period will be maximum 69 minutes. So the relative position, how would you calculate the relative position? It should be half of the total angle. We have already said that half of the cone we will consider as the relative position. So naturally it will be half of the 17.4 degree, and that will be 8.7 degree, nothing else. So it's very simple. And once you get this 8.7 degree values, then what you will substitute? Then the t, that will be 365 by pi. 365 we not consider leap year for calculation, because end of the day you have to consider what is the maximum occurrence, that is the 365. So if you calculate, it will be 20.9495 like that. So 21 days approximately. So once you will get now 21 days, that means you have to grow the eclipse for 21 days, and then it will fall back for another 21 days. So what will be the total duration of the eclipse? That should be 42 days. And I am showing that is for March, April, and for also September, October. So the total duration should be 42 days, and you have to remember this factor. Why I am showing March, April, and September, October? Because you consider that the maximum equinox positions are the 23rd March or 23rd September, so it will be around them, and that's why I am showing the total duration. So it will be totally the 42 days. That's why please remember, sometimes the questions may be given that why it will be 21 days, but it's not 21 days, it is actually 42 days. You calculate it 21 days, but this is for one sided. So once you consider the total coverage angle, you instead of 8.5 you have to substitute the 17.4, and naturally the days, number of days will be twice, so it will be 42 days. And that's the symbol of the lunar eclipse. Again, the same thing, sun, earth, moon. I think the penumbra and umbra, yeah, I'm showing this. So whether it will be completely covered or the partial covered, that's the ultimate thing. But lunar eclipse is very negligible for satellite, because the size of the moon and the distance doesn't matter to us. So when moon passes in front of the sun, the moon eclipse or the lunar eclipse occurs. And its length is important because it takes place for short duration. So average of the few minutes, maximum 6 minutes. So we are not going into go for the lunar eclipse, or maximum maybe 10 minutes sometimes. So I am not considering this lunar eclipse as a very important parameter for our satellite communication. So the next important question, how to avoid the eclipses. So when satellite longitude is east on the Earth station, then it enters in the eclipse during daylight. Now daylight is undesirable. You have a lot of drainage of the solar power. But if satellite longitude is set at west to the Earth station, this eclipse will cover around the night darkness, so the usage will likely be very small. So naturally, the satellite longitude should be set at the west of the Earth station in order to avoid the huge drainage of the solar batteries, and that's why people are setting this. Now that's the mathematical formula. You have to now setting the satellite and corresponding antenna beam, just longitude should be set at west. And that's one of the key factor when you want to avoid the eclipses. And now I'm coming to the Doppler frequency shift. And Doppler frequency shift occurs for GEO. That's a one very important question. Why it is not for LEO? Because LEO satellite is in relative motion with respect to Earth station terminal, but GEO satellite appears stationary. Now Doppler frequency shift is a very small sort of shift. So if it is already LEO is in relative motion, you will get a huge amount of Doppler shift. That is not our concern. But though GEO appears stationary, but it moves with respect to Earth station very slowly, and the satellite transmitter that varies the frequency, it varies with respect to. And how it is vary? If you take the shift with respect to the received signal frequency, if you measure the shift with respect to received signal frequency, it's a ratio of the velocities. What are the velocities? It is a ratio of the satellite transmitter velocity towards the Earth station with respect to the phase velocity. Phase velocity of electromagnetic wave is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second, you know. So if you know the satellite transmitter velocity component, then you basically calculate the shift, because received signal frequency you can measure from the receiver Earth station. So that basically gives you the Doppler frequency shift. And these are some selected reference. You can take it for the references for more detailed calculation or something else. And that's all the question curriculum for today. And in the next day we will go for some digital modulation techniques. So thank you all.